to another JumpCloud Partner interview, where today is a little bit different because we've got not one, but two speakers on, which is exciting from my point of view, mainly because it means I probably need to speak less, which is always good. And we've got Xceptional Networks and ElephantHop on. So let me just quickly introduce who's joining us, and then I'll let them say hello themselves. So Chris McKewon, CEO and founder of Xceptional Networks, and Brett Ramburg, CEO, co-founder of ElephantHop. So we're delighted to have you with us today. Thanks for taking the time. Maybe we'll start off with Chris. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, let's see. I live in San Diego. Our company's headquarters was founded in San Diego. Xceptional is a managed service provider, managed security service provider. We're about 20 people. Have been in business for about 16 years, and we do all sorts of things. We have four main lines of business. Xceptional Networks is actually a line of business. We're called Xceptional. Xceptional Networks is our LAN, WAN, Wi-Fi, and security practice. Xceptional Cloud is our server storage, backup, and recovery practice. So public, private, and hybrid clouds, all things cloudy, I like to say sometimes. Xceptional Connect is our collaboration practice, so UCAD or contact centers, voice, video, and web-based communication. And then Xceptional Care is our managed services practice, where we do help desk, network operations center, security operations center, that kind of stuff.
Cool. And that's 16 years then. So I guess you've seen lots of changes in the MSP space in that time.
Well, I think, my IT career goes back to the early mid 90s, I guess I'd say. And so, yeah, I've seen a lot of change over that whole career for sure. Sort of rode that internet protocol wave, and Ethernet conversion wave, replacing all that previous technology, which wasn't very fast. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, and I go back even further than that. So I guess I was sort of with the mini computer and sort of RS-232 terminals and things. So yeah, but the IP wave was kind of what changed a lot of things.
Serial communications are so much fun, he said sarcastically.
Absolutely. So Brett, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, Brett Ramburg, CEO of ElephantHop. We are an IAM consultancy. We used to own an MSP, Altitude Integrations, and while operating that organization, we had a lot of IAM demand, a lot of IAM work, and so much of it that in 2021, we spun out another company, and we just focused that company on IAM and specifically JumpCloud. We had been a large JumpCloud partner with our MSP, spun it out and focused on consulting on IAM, doing implementations from the ground up, doing migrations from one IAM platform to another, or just working on product adoption for organizations that might want to use JumpCloud a little bit more than they have in the past. And been operating that ever since, and ended up, last year in June, selling our MSP to Chris here at Xceptional.
Yeah, which is why we wanted to speak today. It's a fascinating story, and JumpCloud's kind of woven in between, which is I'm kind of curious to explore. So on that basis, as Brett mentioned, Chris, you acquired Altitude back in 2022. Obviously, a lot of MSPs are looking to acquire different businesses at the minute, and there's a lot of them out there, a lot of for sale. So what attracted you to Altitude?
Brett and his partners had a very like-minded culture. We liked the area in which they served in the Colorado, Denver metro area. The company is based in Boulder, and we thought that was a great market. It's our first acquisition. We launched a campaign in 2021 to seek candidates. We looked at a lot of different companies, and then actually sort of closed down that effort. And Brett's sellers rep reached out to us and we got that NDA going, we got the conversations going, and it's like, this is a perfect mix of clients, perfect opportunity for us, because previously we hadn't done a lot of IAM work or JumpCloud work or cloud only work. We had operated a lot more in the traditional Windows, Microsoft Windows, Intel environment, and it was a great time to mix those product sets and those cultures, and the result has been a very good experience for me, and I hope the employees that are still around from both organizations. And like I said, JumpCloud becomes central to a lot of what we do today, because it's a lubricant to folks who have maybe deployed that traditional Wintel type environment and need to get to an all cloud environment. We're able to free them from those constraints, right, and do a lot of interesting stuff with.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And you mentioned sort of first acquisition there. I guess the first one's always the most difficult, I guess, is probably what they say.
For sure, yeah, that's where you get all your mistakes out of the way. I mean, obviously, it's just it's a difficult proposition from the start, right? And it took us about 6 months to try to study what we had bought and take the best of what we had bought and bring the best of what we had, and integrate those lines of communication and management and structure, so that we could operate as one cohesive team, servicing one customer pool, right? Instead of two customer pools and two ticketing systems and two time entry systems and all that stuff. We went for it, and at the beginning of this year, merged all the systems that we could and all the infrastructure and processes that we could, and took all of the talent in the technical pool and used it to work on and service all the clients in the pool, right? So that was a great experience. I have a lot of experience doing that from work engineering and identity management, in the legacy sense, from my time working for enterprise bars and whatnot, doing a lot of acquisition stuff. So this was familiar to me, and of course we made mistakes along the way, but we're actually about ready to restart our acquisition engine again and maybe acquire another business in 2024 or two, and kind of push forward in our growth by acquisition endeavors.
Fascinating. And you made a very good point there, which I want to kind of put to Brett as part of the next question, where you referred to the staff, and obviously you've kind of kept a lot of the staff on both sides happy. And I guess from your side, Brett, it's selling a business is quite an emotional thing. I mean, how did it feel when you sort of first spoke to Chris, and did it kind of feel right straight away?
Yeah, it is a very personal experience. It really is, because over the number of years, I think I acquired a smaller MSP in 2017, and then rebranded and grew it into Altitude. And you build so much trust with your staff and with your clients, and a company as small as we would hover between, I'd say, probably 10 to 15 employees. You really create a culture, or a family culture, just organically, because of the size. But immediately when I met Chris, we had met a number of different folks. Our broker went out and had some organizations like Chris's earmarked for hey, they're out looking for MSPs to buy. So we met with a number of different folks. We met with some private equity folks, PE folks, and it just didn't feel right handing my staff and my clients off to that type of organization that maybe wasn't going to put as much value on those two pieces as I had, and put that trust into them as well. So when I met Chris the first time, his personality was what stood out to me right away, and his wife works in the business as well at Xceptional. And just hearing that both of them are working in the business and they're family people, and also meeting Danielle on his team, it just felt like the right fit. They had so many things that were just dialed, and it was really where I wanted to get my company eventually if I would have held on to it. But Chris had done it, and he had so much experience. You know, he had such a large network. He had done this for so long that I also felt like my staff were going to be in such good hands for their career progression, really, and to be able to learn new skills and level up just immediately. So there was just so many good things about it, from just the cultural side all the way to, you know, the professional side, and what they were going to be able to deliver to our clients and our staff. So
That's great. And how did the staff, we mentioned staff, so I guess that's one thing. How did the staff react to the news? But also, how did the existing clients react?
the staff, I think they could tell that we were ready, you know, to take the next step. And I'm not super technical. We talked about a little bit about this before the call, but I'm not super technical. I'm more of the business application, super curious about, you know, about technology. And so I bought a tech company in 2017. And so they, I think, felt too, to be able to have us get to the next level, needed a technical leader to be able to get us there, our technical owner, technical CEO, what have you. And Chris was it. And the conversation I had with them was exactly that. You know, if you know you want to continue in your technical career and continue progressing and learn from folks, and maybe even be able to have some lateral movement in the company, this acquisition, you know, is going to benefit you, I think, most of all. And then talking to our clients as well, just bringing in the extra expertise that Chris and his staff have, and the network that they have, brought a lot more tools and yeah, a lot more, like I said, expertise to the table when it came to servicing the environments, their environments. So it was a win-win overall, I think, for both the staff and the clients.
Yeah, and how did your existing staff take to the kind of news that you're growing through acquisition, Chris?
Well, they were involved. So, you know, like Danielle, who Brent mentioned, is our COO and CFO, and sits on the board. So, and Betsy, our director of sales and marketing, and also my wife, also sits on the board. So, and the only other folks outside the board were our, you know, service and tech leaders, and we have them sit in on board meetings, and they are privy to it. We actually publicized the fact that we were out looking for companies to buy. We put it out there. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't a secret, right? That's how you want to get excitement, and it's usually a little bit different story when you're selling your business, right? Then you want to keep it on the hush side. But when we're out looking to buy companies, people feel like there's a certainty to their future, and an excitement around growth and opportunity. So we felt emboldened by the response. Everybody was excited. In fact, a couple of employees made suggestions about companies we should talk to, and we actually did talk to them. And it's been very interesting. Actually, I've learned a lot about business just by having the opportunity to see so many, you know, profit and loss statements, balance sheets, the informational memorandums that they write when they're, you know, trying to sell, analyzing things like gross margins and productivity and maturity scale type conversations. And when we talked to Brett, we thought, okay, there's a lot of alignment. We use a lot of the same tools. The tools that we don't use that they use, we could learn from and adopt. And you know, so I'm looking forward to what 24 has to bring as far as that restarting that journey again, because that it's new and different to me as a person, right? I've been an engineer for 25 years now. It's more than 25 years now, and so it's you know, that is great. I love that, but this business stuff is very, especially acquisitions, mergers, and stuff is very interesting and new and fresh, and And I'll double click on kind of what Brett was saying about the private equity conversation. That's a different ball game, right? That is a completely different ball game. So those guys take a different approach than family style businesses, and I think we're in that transition from family style, closely held, to growth and opportunity based business. So that's it has been an interesting transition.
Yeah, and it seems that it's been like an amazing success. So congratulations on that, and hopefully
Thank you.
the next one will be the same.
Yes, and a lot of kudos to Brett and his partner and the team that was there. Brett was open and allowed us to meet some of the team members before the deal was closed, and that's unusual. That showed a lot of confidence and trust in us, and I sincerely appreciated that. And we had a great dinner out there in Boulder, and I think it made everybody kind of feel at ease on both sides of that transaction, because we were friendly. It wasn't adversarial, and these things can get really, kind of nitpicky or nasty if you let them. And I don't think we ever got there. It wasn't like that at all with us, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I don't think, I don't think we've had anything that's been, bristly,
Right. Exactly.
And it is super unique to have, the person that's acquiring you or the company acquiring you meet the staff. And I had a lot of anxiety about it, but just because I was, you get worried about your staff, and are they going to start worrying about, oh my gosh, am I going to have a job after this? Are they going to cut me as a cost, strategy? But yeah, I think it just goes back to the trust, Chris, Danielle, and Betsy, and the organization they have. And that came through at that dinner that night, and the meetings we had previously earlier that day with our staff, those individuals. And yeah, it built trust all the way around. So it was great.
Yeah, sounds the dream transaction. So I guess moving on to JumpCloud a little, I always ask when doing these interviews how people sort of first heard about JumpCloud. So from your side, Brett, you describe yourself as non-technical. I'm assuming you're kind of putting yourself down a little, but kind of a non-technical. So how did you first come across JumpCloud?
So when we acquired our MSP in 2017, which turned out to be Altitude eventually, I had a little bit. I worked for an MSP briefly in sales 5 years before that, so I knew about the industry. I was super curious about technology, and I'm a sponge when it comes to learning. So I dove in, and obviously before I closed on the business, learned as much as I could about the industry, and felt like I ramped myself up so quick that I felt really comfortable coming in day one. Of course, a little overconfident, and got the old wide-eyed look when I first came in for the first week. But at the end of that first week, one of my lead engineers came to me and said, "Hey, we should really look at this JumpCloud company. They're in our backyard. Here's what they do." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much going on right now. Taking this company over and learning all this. We already want to make a change." But I said, "Let's do it. Let's take a look at it." And he said, "Okay, there's a individual at JumpCloud that's been reaching out to me. Can I just send him to you?" I said, "Yep, do it." His name was Ben Oren, and great guy. He had a tough task ahead of him, trying to build out partnerships before there was a partner program at JumpCloud. And so I sat down with him a number of times, and we just started implementing it internally first. We trained our own staff on it. We actually had Greg Keller came in and went through some training with us, which, JumpCloud's such a big company now, I can't imagine he does that anymore at all. We had Dan Fay over there came in, who's an integral, piece of JumpCloud. And they all came in and did some training with our staff, and that took off. So internally, we had deployed it. We were comfortable with it. So we started adding clients and selling it as part of our product stack. And we just became a huge fan of it. It allowed us to manage all these clients. They're their fleet of hardware and their identities, which the two pieces to me are super, super vital to a company, just being a business owner. And yeah, that's how we got started. And over time, as JumpCloud started building out their partner portal, they would bring us into their office and ask us questions about an MSP and how we operate. And then their MTP, the multi-tenant portal, they started sending us screenshots and having us beta test it and give feedback and do all that. So we were back and forth in each other's offices quite a bit. I think I still have a recording out there where they recorded me as a partner, trying to get other partners involved. And yeah, that's how I started, and it just kind of took off, and the product just kept maturing, and we were able to just keep implementing it in more and more environments, and eventually spun out another company just for it.
Brilliant, and thanks. Yeah, thanks for all your input and help, certainly on the MTP, which is constantly evolving, as I'm sure you see. But
Yeah.
being one of the first partners to sort of take the leap of faith was great. So thanks for that. And Chris, I mean, were you aware of JumpCloud
No.
before the Altitude deal?
Mm-mm. No, in fact, between acquisition integration dates, I went out and got JumpCloud certified, and sort of it's now woven into what we do. Right? We have we approach the MSP market a little bit different than Altitude did, in that we try to avoid the trading hours for dollars, right? So we try to bundle things and do fixed rate pricing, right? Say, okay, this is all you can eat kind of stuff within limits. And we like Altitude had our remote monitoring and management tools and network monitoring tools, but we didn't have a good way to do the three pillars of JumpCloud product set, which is the identity, the access, and device management. Not necessarily in that order. And so when I learned about it, I like Brett, sort of dove in and learned all I could. Obviously, the product was a lot farther along than it was when Brett started that journey. And now in our bundled MSP solution, it's included, right? We throw it in, and we've negotiated with JumpCloud a good package managed services bundle. So under that platform, we can bring customers on board. And so now I'm literally talking about it with almost every single new customer engagement. JumpCloud website is a good source of leads for our sales department, right? Just being on that page because of the freshness of the product and the visionary leadership it's shown gives us a leg up on a lot of the competition in the MSP market space. So I'm happy about that, right? So, and then we talk to companies from 5 people to I think our biggest JumpCloud conversation is a company that has 4,000 employees, 1,600 workstations, and so they're a product of a lot of acquisitions. So it's like, and they're all cloud. So it's it's perfectly suited for any one of those kinds of deployments, and it gives them that visibility and control that a lot of companies lack. And with cybersecurity insurance requirements every year going up, and if you don't meet those requirements, you're going to get kicked out, and you won't be able to cover yourself. But JumpCloud really checks a lot of those boxes, right? We have this thing called the cybersecurity pyramid. And when I was talking about bundled solutions, that's called Xceptional Care Complete. We try to cover all the things in the cybersecurity pyramid. In other words, all the things you should do to be a mature cybersecurity organization. And JumpCloud is a key component in many of those boxes. And because it's included and complete, and we bolt on a couple other things, we try to cover all those foundational items in that Xceptional Care Complete. And it really does a good job of getting a client who hasn't done the investment to do the investment, and as if it were just a MSP onboarding. So it's kind of a nice experience. It's been a good seller for us.
super cool and fascinating. And I really liked what you said there, because one of the things that we strive for with JumpCloud is to, and with MSPs in general, standardization of sort of tools and products is really important. So I think that you're having the conversations with all of your clients around JumpCloud is kind of music to our ears. So yeah, thanks so much for that.
Of course.
And moving on to ElephantHop then, Brett, and I suspect that maybe one of the things that Chris just mentioned may be the answer to this, I'm not sure, which was around cyber insurance, but you kind of went out and created a identity and access management sort of consultancy. What kind of drove you to that space, and why did you think that was something that was needed in the marketplace?
Well, first and foremost, as an MSP, the goal is really is standardization, but it's also, consistency when it comes to maintenance on environments. And the more consistent you can get with that, the better operation you can run, the better you can deliver to your clients. Projects sometimes, are difficult in MSP. They were for us because we were so small, because you have to take your employees away from the ongoing maintenance and the proactivity to then go into project mode. So for us, it just made sense that we were doing all these projects and we'd have to pull people over to do that. We said, you know what, we just need to dedicate a team to the IAM side. We've gotten so good at it. We're having organizations reach out to us that have already an internal IT team and they don't want anything MSP. And it's sort of butting heads a little bit because they don't want to go through an MSP to be able to get some of the IAM work done, because they don't want to lose the business, obviously. So the MSPs, we're like, no, we'll figure it out. Go a different direction. Don't go JumpCloud's direction. We'll do a different platform. So instead of that, when we carved out ElephantHop, MSPs were more comfortable to come to us and say, hey, our client has JumpCloud. They're using SSO. They want to start using the MDM piece of it. Can you help us with that? Some product adoption. So it just made sense for us to completely separate those two organizations at that point. And of course, after COVID, in 2020, when all the organizations started moving to distributed offices, that security perimeter was no longer just an office. No longer was just your office network. Now it was these employees that were all over the country, all over the world. How do you manage the access that they have to applications and the hardware that they have? How do you manage all of that access? Because now they're no longer on that network, like I said. So JumpCloud just made sense. It just, through COVID and all these employees working remote now, it just made sense. It really did for organizations to just latch onto it. And and we've seen that ourselves too, just working remotely, being able to manage the endpoint. So we could speak a good story about how we went remote during COVID and how we were able to manage our fleet of hardware and our access to our applications and all of that, and how identities are your business. They're the core to your business. If someone has access to an identity in your organization, then they have access to everything, essentially, depending on the identity they get access to, and they can pretend to be who they want. So the story around security and remote and all of that, just there was so much momentum with that carving out that company and splitting the books, completely, having a completely even different bank. We split everything different, had our own staff over at ElephantHop, had some back and forth on some of the licenses. We left all of the licenses over at Altitude in the reseller console, just because it didn't make sense to move some of that. But other than that, it was just a completely different entity. And so that's a number of reasons why we moved that over.
Yeah, and it seems to be being a huge success. So yeah, congrats on that, and long may it continue. So we're at time almost. I've got time for we've been talking 30 odd minutes, so we've got time for one more question for you both, which I'm really looking forward to hearing, is around a tip. You both sort of ran successful or still run successful MSP businesses. I guess I could phrase this in one of two ways, is what advice would you give to someone starting out, or Another way of asking that would be, what advice do you wish you'd been given when you were starting out? And we'll start with Chris.
Wow. You stumped me, Chris. I would say, I mean, so this doesn't really have anything to do with MSP business per se, but it's more just business, right? Cash is king, right? Make sure you understand your cash position. My father, who's on my board and was one of my investors, once said, you know, if your P&L looks good but you have no cash, it's like having one leg inside the frying pan and one leg on the counter. Your average temperature is okay, but you're still dead. And I could tell stories about, you know, panic mode cash flow management, but yeah, manage your cash. That's my general business proviso. And then from an MSP specific standpoint, do your policy and procedures right up front, right? Get a partner, what do they call them, getting CRM, you know, we use ConnectWise, but there's many of them out there, you know, and then design your policies and procedures around the strengths and weaknesses of that product, because that's going to end up being core and central to your organization. And if you don't do a good job of that, then efficiency and productivity and scale becomes very difficult, right? And you know, we're continually on this journey of operational maturity, and I would just argue that to be successful, to get the kind of margins you need to get, to be able to staff the way you need to staff, and so on and so on and so on, you have to get the implementation and the usage of those tools down to the as perfect or as mature as a deployment as you can. But it's a journey. It's never perfect, right? So just stay on the journey. Don't give up. Don't consider it done. I never do this project or anything. Like it's you just don't do that, right? You just, as soon as you're done with one cycle, you go to the next, and you're always reaching for nirvana, never getting there, and just be content with that.
Yeah, I'd love that. I love both of the tips. And the second one, I think the way I would explain that from my MSP background is almost, even when you're a very small business, you kind of try and act as though you're a larger business and get the processes in place and the procedures and ensure that the PSAs and the RMMs are set up correctly from day one, right, rather than trying to do it retrospectively. Right.
I watch a lot of Marcus Lemonis, right? The Prophet, I think it was called. I don't know if that show's on anymore, but the you have to have your recipes in your recipe book on the shelf in the kitchen. And if you don't, if you're just doing it if you're stealing your way through everything, you're gonna be one of my board members said, as a critical analysis to us early on, you practice, you're not a business, right? And if you don't have all your recipes in the cookbook on the shelf, then you're just a practice. You're a guy or a gal in a kitchen making stuff, instead of a business which can hire people and train people to read those recipes and make those items the same way, the quality way, each and every time. Again, it's a journey. I'll never get all the way there, and we just have to learn to be content with that.
Yeah, and I think that's a lesson that we can all take on. And so, what about you, Brett? Any kind of tip?
Those were honestly, Chris covered two of the largest, right? Cash and structure. Those are really big. I'll step out and say, just from a sales and marketing background too, when you're working with your clients, solve business problems. Try not to focus on just the tech. Tech is great, but you could also, be chasing these shiny things and these, cool implementations and cool products and not really solve any business problems. And that goes back to your customers' cash and your customers' structure. And that's really who you're trying to win over. And folks could have an internal IT department where they're just leveraging an MSP for additional work, or an IAM consultancy for staff augmentation when it comes to their JumpCloud environment. But really, those folks that are running that department have folks to answer to, and they have budgets, that they need to be looking at, and they have implications of what they're doing and what they're requesting that are going to touch other parts of the organization. And nowadays, a lot of the organization when it comes to a technical environment. So when you're having conversations with them, just know that they're having to take that to the next level and have a conversation with the executives about what business problems this is going to solve. What's the ROI on that? And what's it really come down to as far as value that's getting delivered? Is it a technical value or is it a business value? And if you're shooting for a business value, that technical value will take care of itself. And Marcus Lemonis's, process, product, and people?
People, process, and technology.
Oh, there.
People are first.
Yeah.
Yeah, people always first. So and sales and marketing, we could run an entirely different episode on that for MSPs.
Right.
And it's a path well trodden, but it's something that always needs to be spoken about. So with that, thanks so much, both of you, joining us today, Chris and Brett. We really, really, really appreciate your partnership with JumpCloud, which is great, and your unique story, the way that your two sort of paths crossed and created these two exceptional, I guess for want of a better word, businesses. So thanks again for your time, and hopefully we'll speak soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.